The man bought an antique table, but while he was cleaning up, he accidentally found a trap. He gave it a tap. Jamie opened the door carefully, took a stack of letters out of it, opened it up. It turns out to be a diary from more than 100 years ago, but what he doesn't know is, the same moment more than 100 years ago, a woman opens a drawer, to find that the little secret in the closet is gone. On the other hand, Jamie is reading a woman's diary. Women write very well. She wrote the persistence and longing for love. It's a shame. Father is going to marry her to a man she doesn't like. Lisa doesn't want to compromise, but there was nothing she could do about her father's arrangement. Jamie found that women have a lot in common with themselves in terms of their views of love, and he took a great interest in the woman in the letter. Day 2. Jamie was chatting with his mother over breakfast. He told his mother about it, and the humorous mother seemed interested. She also found some old stamps, encouraged her son to try to write back, and also told Jamie there is also a post office in the next town which is more than 100 years old. To cheer up his favorite mother, Jamie wrote a letter to Lisa. I hope you can be in love, and live by your own heart. Be brave enough to choose the life you want. Subsequently, Jamie goes to the post office where his mother says he is, but this place looks like it's been abandoned for years, and find the mailbox. He stuffed the letter in, but what he didn't expect was, one day, more than 100 years ago, the letter was miraculously delivered to the woman. When Lisa opened the letter, she was completely blindsided. The other side, Jamie is watching the ball game while working, and that's when he heard a strange noise coming from the table. So he opened the trap and looked. There was a letter out of thin air. This moment, Jamie was a little confused as to what the situation was. He slowly opened the letter.
I received your astonishing letter today. Amazing, fantastic. I need someone that leaves the day.
After reading the letter, Jamie's feeling pretty incredible. That's it. Two people in different time and space. By password box and mailbox, the exchange of letters began. Jamie introduced Lisa to the hustle and bustle of contemporary society. Lisa tells Jamie that she's like a bird in a cage, and the pair are also expecting each other's letters every day. On this day, Jamie, according to the address in the letter, found the house where Lisa lived, but this place is already empty. There's only one babysitter left to inherit the house. Just as Jamie was about to leave disappointed, Lisa from another time and space just happens to be going upstairs, and then something magical happened. Both seemed to feel each other's presence, also felt each other's touch and physical contact. The man finds a hidden frame by accident to find out that he had a relationship with a woman more than 100 years ago. Exchange letters through hidden boxes and mailboxes. That's it. Two people in different time and space. A subtle connection is made in this way, sharing each other's emotions and lives. And the two also expect each other to write back every day. For a while, the spark of love grew stronger in their hearts. To see each other's faces, they took separate pictures of themselves. But what's left is, Jamie's letter was accidentally dropped on the floor by the maid. On this day, Jamie is taking part in a bike race and accidentally hit a branch, then fly out and faint to the ground. And the other side, Lisa is on her way to the hospital. There was also a sudden jolt that seemed to be sensing. At the hospital, the doctor checked. Jamie's not a big deal, but it's weird, and he's been in a coma. And Lisa at the moment, she saw a man in a military uniform in the hospital. Just one look, she had a strange feeling about him. The colonel seemed a little interested in her, too, and the colonel did not leave, waiting for Lisa to come out of the hospital. That's it. The colonel had a perfect chance encounter, love at first sight, and they quickly started dating. Maybe this is the predestination. Both share a familiar feeling, and Lisa didn't feel so sorry for Jamie. Instead, the more she gets along with the colonel, the more she felt closer to Jamie. But the good moments are always too short. The colonel's been ordered, about to go to the front and fight in the war. Before leaving, the two made an appointment to meet in the park. This moment, both had a lot of love in their eyes, and then kissed together without scruple. In the railway station the next day, a reluctant farewell of the two, and the colonel promised he'll come back to marry her when the war is over. At the same time, Jamie is also waking up in a coma. When he got home, the first time he opened the trap and looked, and it was already filled with Lisa's letters. Lisa told Jamie her love affair with the colonel, and Jamie doesn't have any jealousy. Instead, it was a heartfelt blessing to Lisa. However, after he learned the colonel was going to the war, Jamie quickly went online to look up information. He quickly found a list of those killed in the battle online, and the colonel's name just happened to be among them. Looked at the date of the letter. Jamie immediately wrote Lisa a letter. Let her stop this tragedy from happening. But when Jamie gets to the post office, there was an unexpected fire at the post office. It's like something was meant to happen. He could not stop the disaster. In order to send a letter, a man's life is at risk. With a raging fire, to deliver a letter to a woman more than 100 years ago. And the other side, Lisa when she got home, after getting a letter from Jamie, knowing that the colonel was dying, she defied her father to stop her. She drove the carriage to the station without experience, despite the conductor's best attempts to dissuade her, said the front line was dangerous. But it didn't change Lisa's resolve to save her lover, after all the ups and downs, and drove on for another night. Lisa finally made it to the front, and the colonel is in the midst of this battle. He was shot in the chest, and when he fell to the ground, ground, with Lisa's name in his mouth. When Lisa finds the Colonel is dying. In Lisa's company, the Colonel walked the last leg of his life in her arms. At the same time, Jamie also woke up suddenly. It's like life or death. The rest of the day, Lisa kept writing to Jamie, but the post office was destroyed in the fire. He could never write to Lisa again. Until this day, the maid found the late letter under the table. Lisa, who has not heard back for a long time, and finally a little bit of a smile. But what she didn't think of, in the photo, Jamie actually looks exactly like the Colonel. Then Jamie received another letter from Lisa, and Jamie was shocked by the photos. Day 2. Jamie came to Lisa's old house again. In the room, he seemed to sense Lisa's presence, and the Lisa of the parallel universe seemed to sense the arrival of Jamie. In the attic, the maid took out what she had just found. From the notes in the letter, Lisa went on to become a teacher, and found that her last name had not changed, and that means Lisa didn't get married until she was old. Immediately after, Jamie found a picture of himself again among the belongings. Subsequently, Jamie came to Lisa's grave, gently stroking the tombstone, but as he laid out the flowers, found a line at the bottom of the gravestone. But while Jamie was so relieved and sad, a dog came suddenly. I can see it likes Jamie very much, but just as Jamie was about to say hello to the dog's owner, he found that the woman in front of him looked just like Lisa. This moment Jamie was stunned. The film is almost over by now, although the two had never seen each other in time travel. But the good thing is, the fate of the past and present life, and brought them together again, to make up for the movie.